Hi guys, it's Mrs. Melcher here. One of the things that we talked about before we got out of school was periodic table, and we are going to be talking more about that and some trends. Next week, I'm going to have a special assignment for you where you'll be required to go and take some photos of different elements. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is some models, and I'm going to be using the periodic table, and I have the one that's in your book, but I also sent you a link that you can look up online to find some things about the periodic table. Okay, so if you look at this one in the book, you can see that there are two elements on the top, right here and here, hydrogen and helium, and then there are 8 elements on the second level. You'll see that there are 8 elements on the third level, and then there are 18 elements on the fourth level. This is an important thing because you can use it when you're drawing diagrams of the atoms and the elements, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do today. All right, so there's 2 different types that I'm going to teach you, and one of them is called the Bohr model, and one of them is called the Lewis structure. The Lewis dot structure is the more simplified version, and the Bohr model is the longer version. Okay, so Bohr is named after a scientist named Niels Bohr, and there's actually an element on the periodic table named after him. It's called bohrium. So the Bohr model is a picture of the element that you're looking at, and then it has little dots around it to signify electrons and the electrons on where they're located within the electron cloud. Okay, so remember, let's see, if I could just draw a regular atom, here's the middle, the nucleus, and then you've seen the Jimmy Neutron model, which is kind of like this, and then it has like the little things. Well, that's kind of the Bohr model, but not exactly. So the Bohr model, it usually has the element that it's identifying in the center, some like the nucleus. Okay, so here's H. I'm going to draw hydrogen. And hydrogen, since it has 1 electron, is simply drawn with 1 little shell and 1 electron. This is a picture of the Bohr model for hydrogen. Okay, now what hydrogen I showed you on my periodic table, there's 2 elements in its row. So because there's 2 elements in its row, I could also draw helium, and helium has 2 electrons, so it has 2 electrons in this same thing, which is called an orbit or a shell. There's a trend on the periodic table. The elements in the first row have 2 electrons in the first shell. The elements in the second one have 8. In the third, they have 8, and in the fourth, they have 18. Remember, just like I showed you, there were that many elements in each one. Okay, so here's a picture of helium for the Bohr model. Okay, now I'm going to keep going. Now for lithium, what's going to happen is I'm going to draw lithium. My rag's a little bit wet, so I have to wait for it to dry. Lithium, it has 3 electrons. And so 2 of them are found in this first orbit, this first shell. And then 1 is found in the next because of the pattern 2, 8, 8, 18. There's 2 electrons in the first, and then there'll be 8 in the next. So if I go all the way up to neon, which is number 10, it'll have 2 in the first, and then it'll have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the second shell because it's element number 10. If you continue to go on, then you'll see that the elements and the electrons match up in this pattern. Okay, so that's the Bohr model. The Bohr model shows with these rings, these orbits, how many electrons are in each level. Okay, now I'm going to draw what's called the Lewis dot diagram. Sometimes it's called the Lewis structure. I like to call it the Lewis dot diagram because then it reminds you that they're dots. Okay, so for the Lewis dot diagram, however many electrons there are in the outside level is how many dots you'll give it. So for helium, it goes along with the Bohr model. Because there were 2 electrons in the outside, there's going to be 2 dots. to signify 2 electrons. Doesn't matter where you draw the dots. Draw them here and here. You can draw them here and here. There are 2 dots for helium because of the Bohr model that looks like this. You see how there's 2 dots for 2 electrons? There's 2 electrons. Okay, the ones that are in the outside, they are called valence electrons. Okay, now let's go back to this one, where I drew on the Bohr model for neon. See how it has, this was just an extra shell that I drew. See how it has 8 in the outside level? That's called 8 valence electrons. So the 8 valence electrons are drawn for neon. And this is the Lewis structure now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So neon will have 10 total electrons, 2 in the first shell, 8 in the second shell, and the second shell is reflected in the Lewis diagram right here, 8 electrons around the neon. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to have you guys, as your assignment, show me, just model that you can do 3 different elements than I did, and take a picture of it. Okay, now I'm going to do one more. I showed you hydrogen, I showed you helium. I'm going to do oxygen. Okay, so oxygen. And oxygen has how many? It has 8. So there's going to be 2 in the first because of 2, 8, 8, 18. And then in the next level, it'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 plus 6 is 8. I have someone here, obviously. She wants to say hi. Say hi. Hi, guys. Okay, so for oxygen, you have the 2, the 8, and the 18. These 6 that are in the outside level are going to be represented in the Lewis model with 6 dots. And you'll go around the dots and give each of the 4 sides 1 dot before going back and giving the second dot. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. Yours should not look like this. This is not correct because there needs to be a representative electron, valence electron, on all 4 sides. So this is not correct. But you could have yours look like this or this. Okay, so here's the Bohr model and for oxygen, and then here's the Lewis structure. They're related because there are 6 in the outer shell. There are 6 valence, and then there are 6 electrons drawn here. See how I have them drawn all around the sides before I went back and gave them a second one? That's really important. I want you to take your pictures and then let me know if you have any questions. If you would like to Google Hangout with me or just Google message me, then I can give you more instruction on that too. All right, good luck.